Hello and welcome to a millinery hat making video. My name is Ilona, I'm a milliner based in London, and today I shall be making a fruit basket hat. If you think of fruit on head, you think of Carmen Miranda, but she didn't wear a basket, she wore a turban. I, on the other hand, wanted to make a hat out of some straw capelin offcuts that I had lying around. Waste not, want not, and all that. So here we are. Just remember, this is my preferred method. There is no right or wrong way, it's whatever works for you. Get your oranges and lemons ready, and let's get started.
First, let's draw this hat. I don't always sketch out ideas, but in this case I wanted to get my ideas down on paper and make some notes. I think of this less like a fashion illustration and more like a scientific diagram or perhaps a recipe. Once I've got the overall shape drawn, I can start thinking about the practicalities of making it. For example, how is it going to attach to my head? In this case, I think it will need to go on a wire frame. How will I cover this wire frame? Velvet or silk dupion? I'd prefer to use velvet, but I already have some brown silk dupion in my cupboard, so I think I'll just end up using that. I know I definitely want to use a knotted ramie straw, but it has a right and a wrong side. Perhaps I need to make this hat shape double-sided, as I have this back bit sticking out. Do I stiffen before or after blocking? Maybe I'll try blocking one shape, wiring it, blocking the second shape, stitching them together at the edges, and then stiffening it. Although on second thoughts, perhaps this will make it too heavy. Okay, I think I've got it all down. Let's start making. Here is what I used for making my fruit basket hat. Straw for the basket. This is a brim from a knotted ramie capelin. My paper pattern for a teardrop shape. This pattern is available to download for my Patreons. A pencil for marking the straw. Kitchen scissors. Pins for blocking. Cotton-covered millinery wire, pliers, measuring tape and a general sewing kit, PVA glue and a paintbrush. Your stiffener solution of choice along with all the safety and application gear. I will be using Pai chemical stiffener. Please see my video on chemical stiffeners for more information about this product. Oh, and of course I'll need some fruit. Wait. Don't be silly, not real fruit, fake millinery fruit. I have a stunning collection of vintage oranges and lemons. There is something so delightfully frivolous about fake fruits. Looking at them fills me with joy, and I am so glad that I have finally thought up a use for them. Because the straw is woven, it will fray when cut. To prevent this, I steam ironed my capelin flat and then machine stitched close to my cutting line. The straw knots tend to get stuck between the presser foot and the feed dog teeth. That's only to be expected. I just lift the presser foot, make a stitch manually, and put the presser foot back down. Once it is stitched, I can cut it. I am using kitchen scissors rather than my nice sharp fabric scissors. And now to block. I am using just steam to curve my teardrop straw over Anne, my poupée head. Once it's blocked and dried, I am painting on some chemical stiffener. As I already said, I'm using Pai chemical stiffener. It has 50% active ingredients and it will give my straw a good solid structure without being too shiny. I'm applying the chemical stiffener following all the health and safety precautions. This includes wearing gloves, an apron and a mask, as well as making sure that my environment is well ventilated. And for those of you wondering, Drusilla is currently resting in the office. Let's leave her to it and get back to the hat. I absolutely love how the Pai stiffener has worked. It's made the straw rigid enough to hold its shape and has also given it a lovely, healthy shine. I am now going to wire my teardrop. I have cut my desired length of millinery wire plus 5 cm for an overlap. Then I'm going to flatten the wire to take the spring out of it. To do this, I place the wire on the table and inspect where it is springing up. Using my fingers, I'm going to gently coax the wire into a flatter shape. Once that's done, I'm going to join the ends using my favourite cross-stitch method. To attach it to the straw, I am placing it to the underside and I'm going to use a wire stitch to stitch it in place. As I am working with straw, I am using a blunt tapestry needle so as not to puncture the straw. Anytime I pass my needle through the straw, I make sure that it is going through the gaps in the straw weave and not the straw itself. Next, I'm going to fold the edges of the straw over the wire and stitch them all down. I am making sure to keep my stitches invisible on the outside and travelling with the needle on the inside. Perfect. And now I need to do almost the same steps with the second bit of straw. So that's stitch, cut, block, but I don't need to wire it again. I'm going to pin the unwired straw to the wired one I made earlier, folding the excess edges inwards and stitching them down. Now I can stitch my 2 straw teardrops together. To stitch it together, I am using slip stitches. I am also still using a blunt tapestry needle. If I had used a straw that didn't have a pattern to it, for example a standard parasisal capelline, then I wouldn't have needed to make and fuse together 2 bits of straw. But I had to go ahead and make things complicated by using a knotted rami. Oh well, more work for me. Once it's stitched together, I stiffened the concave side of my shape, not forgetting to comply with the safety precautions. There we go, a double-sided teardrop. I'm going to use a tiny bit of steam on the section where I want it to dimple to my head shape. To secure it while it dries, I am opting to use thin dressmaking pins with glass heads. This is to minimise any puncture damage to the straw weave, and also the glass bubble heads help hold the straw down flush with the poupée head.
But how will this teardrop sit on my head? I'm going to try my hand at making a wire frame. Wire frame structures were and still are quite a popular method of head attachments. Here is a vintage Parisian hat from the 1950s that has quite a substantial wire frame attachment. And here is a headpiece by Stephen Jones for Moschino Fall 2022. As you can see, it also sits on a wireframe headband. Usually when I make a wireframe headband, I put the joining support here at the centre. But this time, as the wireframe will be exposed, I want to position it right under where the basket of the hat will sit. For the most flattering face framing, I am aiming for just above my right eyebrow. And this puts the support 1/3 along the band.
To make the wire band, I will need 3 measurements: a forward set ear to ear length, a backward set ear to ear measurement, and a joining support measurement. Once I've got those measurements, I need to calculate my wire length. I always find it helpful to draw out a diagram to mark out the lengths of my various points. So for my measurements, I've got 3 centimeters for a join, 3 centimeters for the joining support, 10 centimeters front right, 10 centimeters back right, 20 centimeters back left, 21 centimeters front left, and the last 3 centimeter wire join. I will measure this out from the inside of my wire. Measuring wire from the underside of the curve will always give you a more accurate measurement. As you can see, now that my wire is cut, it is all wonky, so I am flattening it out to take the spring out. Then I'll mark on all the bending points I calculated earlier and start bending. To bend the wire, I am using rounded pointy pliers and trying to direct the bend so that the wire curves already follow the correct direction. Then I secure the 2 joins using the usual crisscross method. It's looking a little bit flat, so the last step is to curve the band into a moon shape. Lovely. Now I just need to cover it in something to match my hair colour. Normally I would have used a velvet rouleau loop, see my wireframe hats video for that reference, but I don't have any velvet in brown. What I do have is a brown silk dupion which I have turned into a double fold bias binding and am now winding it tightly around the headband. To secure it, I am placing a few stitches at every bend in the wire. Now to attach the base. I've placed it in a pleasing position on the supporting cross wire and I am using brown thread to match the brown silk dupion. I am placing all my knots and visible stitches on top of the straw. I know this seems counterintuitive, but all these stitches will be covered up by the fruit later. At the moment, it's much more important to keep the underside nice and neat. Here's the finished base. It's nice and sturdy. You can just about see the visible stitches on the top side, but there is no evidence of sewing on the underside. And now the fun part, the fruit. Let's assess what I've got to play with. First up, oranges with the original label which says Made in East Germany. These ones are French. They are very highly lacquered. I think they are supposed to be mini pears. Some more East German berries. These are older than the oranges. I think the oranges may be mid-century, but these black ones are from the 40s, if not earlier. Lemons! From the same batch as the oranges. They are really cute. Once again, some very highly lacquered French multicoloured berries, also mid-century. Some cherries. These are more modern, as the end tips look like they are modern plastic. They are still beautiful with a lovely juicy shine. Here are some broken old cherries. I don't think I want to use these on this hat. I think I need to set these aside and come up with an idea that revolves around them having the cracks in the lacquer. Maybe I can do something with these in a similar vein to Japanese kintsugi, golden joinery, which celebrates a philosophy of breakage and repair as part of the history of an object, rather than something to hide. And here are some more French berries that are mini apples. Back to East Germany for some mini oranges. They've got the same fleckled surface texture as those other oranges and lemons. I might use these as filler berries, along with the mini grapefruit and these adorable mini lemons. As for what I will use on this hat, I don't think I'll use the cherries. I want to use these black ones. I might need to take the leaves off, as they look a little worse for wear, and rebunch the berries with some new waxy floristry tape. I will definitely be using the oranges and lemons, as they are what made me want to make this hat in the first place. I think I have ended up with quite a nice yellow, orange and black colour scheme. I might decide to add some red in later. I'll think about that as I go. I won't be using any of the highly lacquered ones, as I think they introduce elements of a smooth and shiny texture that will distract from the fleckled oranges and lemons. Here's the fun bit, piling on all the fruit. After quite a bit of rearranging, I have ended up with bunching the fruits within their colour groups. They are quite heavy, so they keep wanting to fall off the hat. I'd better sew them on fast. But before I sew them down, I mentioned that the black grapes had leaves that needed to be replaced, so let me quickly make some leaves out of silk dupion. Unfortunately, I think these leaves make the grapes look more like olives, maybe not quite what I wanted in my fruit basket, but it's too late to turn back now. There's one more step before sewing the oranges and lemons in place. I want to cover the twisted wire stems in some green waxy floristry tape. This will strengthen the twisted joins, but also make them look pretty. Finally, I get to sew these down. I've curled the ends of the stems into a coil so that the thread has something to hook around. I'm using a double-threaded needle with thread to match the colour of the straw. And here is the finished hat. When I first finished it, I liked it a lot, but this hat does have some problems. It is very heavy as it sits 3/4 on the head. It has nothing to balance the weight. Maybe it's not my best work, but I still learnt a lot of things whilst making it. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share it with a friend. If you'd like to see more of my work, you can follow me on Instagram @ByIlonaMillinery. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.